Oh my god, I know I haven't been talking about the show at all before this. Though I should have been. I fucking love JoJo. But the most recent episode, that being episode 22. Oh god. Kira, you son of a bitch. I fucking hate that guy now. Oh, my pop filter fell off. Ugh. Ugh. Shigechi, the poor kid. What is my... had to die in such a horrible way. Ugh. God. Brought me all the feels. Like, I teared up. Legitimately teared up in this episode. Just how sudden everything was, and how just completely brutal, and it just was not pleasant to watch. I mean, it was amazing, and don't get me wrong, I was thoroughly entertained, but I was also horribly appalled. Like, I was just like, oh god, no, don't kill. Like, I never disliked Shigechi. Never did. Like, his character to me was meh. Like I thought I would dislike him, but I was more just like kind of annoyed by him. But I found him entertaining in a way. And I liked the fact that he was so innocent, but surprisingly smart. Like, I grew to like him a lot. And of course, if I grow to like a character, that means they have to die. Especially in this episode. Like his single-minded focus normally before this episode was greed. But in this episode, like when he first initially got blown up, and then like escaped Kira's his grasp for a moment, which was actually a really good scene where he's messed up, but while like Kira's talking, he summons his stand as a distraction, and then like hides underneath a bush. Like he looks like he disappears, but and then he has like one of his stands, like one off, and then Kira follows it, thinking like, oh, he ran off around that corner. Meanwhile, he had like all of his other harvests grab leaves and pretend to be a bush while sitting on top of them. And then he like escapes into the school. But I like how his single-minded focus, instead of being greed, it was the fact that Kira said that he's going to kill his mother and father if he doesn't tell them about the other stand users. Like, his mind, like what he was constantly repeating is, I'm going to save my mama and papa. I'm not going to let this man kill them. This man should not be living in the same town with my mother and father. And I feel like that really did put into perspective just how horrendous a person Kira is, to not only be completely fine with that, like, just, I'm gonna kill you and your parents, and I'm not gonna give a shit, because I only care about myself. And about my hands. And it also puts into perspective just how much of a problem he is being. Like, he's destroying people's lives. Like, Shigechi was just going to school, getting lunch, having a sandwich, just normal routine stuff. And then he just gets killed in a day. It wasn't even 5 minutes after the last scene, and he's dead. Like, he's a problem, and he just keeps going around killing people with no concern. Like, even after everything happens, like, you see a scene after that, and it's like, what, 4 days later, and he's just like, oh, that woman is a terror. He sees like some people talking, like a woman and a friend talking, and he's like, wow, that woman's a terrible person, which she really was. I mean, she was a gold digger, but she's really, but her face and hands are beautiful. I'm sure if she comes to me, I'll cleanse her soul, and she'll be happy if she dates me. And it's just like, fuck you. You just don't give a shit about anybody, do you? And he just immediately burns the other hand like it's nothing. Ugh. Fucking Kira. I can't wait for him to get his ass kicked. That and his powers are ridiculous. Like, okay, a lot of people have been predicting, like people who had never seen this before, that maybe because of the reference to the song, specifically Super Kami Guru, because he knows the song Killer Queen, he could guess what his ability was going to be, and that was explosions. And I didn't really comprehend how ridiculously broken it was going to be. He can touch anything and turn it into a bomb that he can release whenever he wants. And I mean anything. He's got Gambit powers. He's like freaking Kimberly from Full Metal Alchemist, except way more broken because his powers are tied to a stand. Not just that, but he's also got like all the strength and speed of like a Star Platinum or Crazy Diamond stand. The only thing is that its range is apparently really bad. Like, it's about 2 meters according to Shigechi, so... I mean, that's one thing, but he's been shown to have, like, a bunch of special powers as well. Like, we see his bomb power, for one, which is stupidly... It's just... Okay, it turns anything into a bomb, but then when that bomb explodes, instead of just blowing up the thing, it just transfers all that explosive energy into the body of whoever's touching it, and blows them up from the inside, which is just stupidly good. Just for one, it leaves no trace of evidence. For one, like if it kills somebody, they're just gone. Like their entire body just evaporates into nothing. Two, that would be, given that Shigechi survived the first explosion, the amount of pain he must have been feeling is ridiculous. Like, he said that his face got, like, blown into his body, and then, like, pieces of his brain matter are, like, splatted on the front of his face. It's like, oh, God, why? But it's not, like, his only power either. Like, later on in the episode, we see that he also has, like, this... like a small tank thing that he can send out from his Killer Queen, and it can like fire off rounds that like eradicated this guy's hand, and it's also a bomb. It's also like a grenade itself. So I get the impression he's just got a shit ton of powers, except he's not shown all of them yet, which excites me, but also kind of pisses me off because I just kind of want him to be dead now. It's like, you crossed the line, bro. Killing random people, terrible. Killing this girl that's related to Rohan and her entire family and that dog, horrible. Killing a character we just got to know and kind of like over the last few episodes, just out of the blue. It just kind of reminds me of how much I love the way JoJo handles death. Like, death in JoJo is sudden, and you never really can expect it. And I mean, sure, like, this episode cut off, like, the last episode cut off right before they engage each other, but again, I wouldn't have expected his stand to just kill him so quickly, or at least, like, the first scene of this episode is Shigechi, like, him talking about his stand and being like, oh, my superpower, I have my power, a hidden power around my stand, and Shigechi like is basically saying, oh, my stand can't be beaten by anybody, it's basically invincible. And then it takes the coin and like flies it over to Shigechi, and then he's like, I said my power is to turn anything into a bomb, anything. And then he's like, and Shigechi's like, no, however, throw it away. And it looks like he died there, and then it just cuts the intro, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, he's... What? That is so sudden that your only reaction is like... You just have a blank stare and you're like, holy shit. Like, that was my exact reaction. It was, holy shit. That was so fucking fast. And it was sudden and just immediate. And it was... Because of how short of a time... Like, Josuke mentions later on in the episode that the amount of time in between them splitting up from the like end of the last episode where they're searching for the sandwich, and when he encountered Kira, it was about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and he just died like that. It's a very JoJo way to do it. It's not just a JoJo way. It's also a very realistic way. Like when people die, like I just watched a documentary the night before about police brutality, specifically in Canada and the U.S. And one of the stories they were like telling us about, it was specifically with I think he either had he was on the autism spectrum, I believe, and he was having like a freak out, like he was having a breakdown, and he basically like stripped naked and ran out the house, and in like the cold, and he was basically just freaking out, and he ended up like running into this woman who was coming back from home, and because he was having like a freak out, I think it was like he was having signs of like a stroke or something like that, or where like one of the symptoms is like picking up something and then dropping it repeatedly. And what he did is he like picked up a rock and kept dropping it, and it looked like he was being aggressive. So the lady called the police, mostly because one, he's on somebody else's property, he's clearly freaking out, he might be getting violent. He was naked. But when the police came, they killed him. They shot him a bunch of times, and the people, like his family, the way they described it was that like he was just there a second ago and he was going to leave, and if they said something and he left like that, like they saw him leave and they were like about to stop him. They were about to stop him, and they were going to talk to him about it. But he left so quickly, and they didn't really intervene the way they could, and they called the police to go find him because they didn't know where he went. And he gone for like a few hours, but he basically, when they next heard from him, he was dead. It was just like they didn't really think too much about it at the time, but when it actually resulted in his death, they were like, it was only like a second. It was so sudden, and it really impacted them. And that's very real. Like, that's an example of a real time where that happens. Like, death is never something that's premeditated, or at least something that you can predict, or is going to take a long time. It's usually they're there and then they're gone. And I like that's how JoJo typically handles death. Now, on to the rest of the episode, because I spent the entire beginning of that just basically talking about Killer Queen's abilities and Shigechi's death, which, to be fair, was a majority of the episode, but there was more to it. I mean, not only did Shigechi die, but he did have one final thing that he was able to pass on to Josuke. And that thing was that he had his stand harvest before he died rip off a button from Yoshikage's coat, his like purple overcoat for his suit, and he had his harvest stand carry it into the room, and then it exploded along with the rest of them after he died. Like, his last will was carried his stand over there to give him the button. And Josuke, like, reacts to this, like, Shigechi, what the? He's like, Shigechi, what? And he goes running out there, and he can't see anything, and they go searching, like, immediately. I think they come back to the classroom later and pick up the button. And that button ended up being a vital clue in finding Shigechi. Oh, shit, I almost forgot about that. When he dies, another thing that happens, like, a little bit later is that they cut to where Raimi is in a ghost... in the ghost, I guess I'll call it the ghost neighborhood, and she sees him like flying out into the sky, and he's like crumbling and exploding while screaming in pain. It's like, oh god, why? Like, it was horrible, and he is officially dead too. They even give him like one of the title cards, saying like Shigeo, what was it, like Yunga or something like that. I don't remember his full name, his like real name, and he's like dead, and so he also listed his stand along with it, and just really, really sad, man. And Hiro just walks off like nothing happened either, But because they now have the button from Yoshikage, later on when Josuke basically gathers up, Josuke and Okuyasu basically gather up all the stand users except Tomami for some reason. I still don't know what happened to him. Like, he gets hit by a brick one time by Hazamada actually, and then he's just never seen again. And I know he's not supposed to be dead, not from what I've heard, but he just hasn't appeared ever again. And I don't. What happened to him? Like, even Hazamada's there. Like, everybody's there. Like, basically every stand user that isn't, like, specifically dead or a villain like Akira has shown up. Like, Tonio's there, Aya's there, what's her face? Shit, Yukako's there. Like, everybody from the main crew, Joseph, even the baby's there. Though, I mean, that's because she won't leave Joseph's side. And Raimi officially confirms that, yes, that was the boy who disappeared. They, like, gave a picture of him, and something about seeing, like, a picture of somebody so happy when knowing they died in such a horrible way, it really hits you, like, right there, especially considering how innocent of a character Shigechi really was behind all the, like, the greed and stuff. And they basically, and now that everybody's become, like, completely aware about the killer and that he did actually kill somebody, and about Raimi and everything that happened to her, like, basically everybody's, all the stand users are aware of it, and they're gonna, like, Tonio's gonna inform his customers, and so is Aya. Yukako is she's very commanding, like, something happened in this town under my nose. Okuyasu and Josuke are the ones who are affected by it the most. Well, other than his parents, obviously, but we don't actually see them, other than the fact that they've like, filed a search. Oh, well, while I'm at it, that one bitch from Josuke's high school who was just like one of the girls sees Shigechi, like, walking around, like, like, crawling, and then they accidentally throw a basketball at him, and he crumbles to the ground. He's bleeding everywhere. And then one of the girls is like, hey, maybe we should get a teacher. No, and then, like, one of her friends is like, no, we shouldn't. He's creepy. It's like, he's dying, you fucking oblivious bitch. Can you not see the blood? And you not see that he's bleeding and crawling across the floor very slowly? Let's just leave him. Like, fuck you. I mean, it wouldn't have helped any, because if he was taken into the hospital, Kira probably would have just came after him. Like, even if the teachers, like, took him to the nurse's office or took him to the hospital immediately, he probably either would have died from his wounds. Like, if he wasn't treated, he probably would have died, and Kira would have followed him to, like, the nurse's office and just attacked him while he was down. Like, he could turn anything into a weapon. And so you probably would have been screwed anyways, but so stupid. Like, why is it that, like, every girl in this episode who isn't a main character is just being a giant bitch? Like, there's the one chick who got, like, a ring from her lover, and it was basically like, oh, I don't want this stupid thing, and, like, is basically bitching about it to her friend, even though the guy probably, like, was really into her. There was that lady who just abandoned Shigechi. Like, doesn't make sense. But after they, like, talk about it for a while, like, Josuke and Okuyasu mentioned that, like, though they didn't really like the kid that much, they also didn't want to abandon him. He's one of those guys you just can't really abandon, despite being kind of a jerk a lot of the times, like, very greedy and stuff, and irritating. But he was still one of their friends, and they don't really know how to feel right now. But two people who do know how to feel is Joseph and Jotaro, who, now that they know that the enemy is indeed a stand user, the murderer is a stand user, that they can now get involved. Jotaro specifically getting very involved in this episode, where since he has the button now, he's going out of his way to like investigate all the tailors to see if like if Kira specifically ghosts any of them, if like this is the button that they work with. And they like walk around a bunch of places, and eventually like Koichi's on his own, and he runs into Jotaro again, who for some reason changed back to his old outfit, not the one with the dolphins on it. But he runs into Jotaro, and he doesn't really know what to say to him. Like, he's just kind of like, he basically has a thought to himself, like, shit, what's his name? Rohan is like super overbearing, and that's why he's scary, but Jotaro is just super quiet, and that's why he's scary. And then like he's about to like mention something about how his coat is nice as like an icebreaker. Meanwhile, Jotaro is already gone, looking into another shop that just so happens to have tailoring as a side job, which he never considered to look into. And when he goes there, he finds out that yes, this is indeed the place that Yoshikage Kira gets his stuff mended. And the tailor even has his coat right there, which needs to be mended. And it turns out that not only is that the place where he needs to go, but Kira's in the building there. And when he's about to walk in and like when he's about to like check the tag for who it belongs to and tell them the name of the murderer, he gets shot by like the small turret tank thing, that being a part of Kira's Killer Queen apparently. I don't know what it's called. The next episode's called Heart Attack, so it probably has something to do with that. Maybe that sheer heart attack thing I keep hearing about. But don't spoil it if it is, by the way. Like, if I'm right or wrong, I'll find out next week. Well, actually, I'll be going to Fan Expo next week, so I guess I'll find out eventually. Point is, that weird, like small tank thing, that it has the skull from Yoshikage Kira, which you see all over Killer Queen. So, it's probably related to him in some way. Well, I already know it's part of his stand somehow, because he activates it. And he has it, like, blow up, like, the guy's hand when he's about to grab it. Which, honestly, I don't know why he didn't just blow up the goddamn jacket, other than the fact that would have lured them in, I suppose. He has it blow up, like, the guy's hand. And they got a giant hole in it. And then he's, like, telling him, look over to your left. Look over to your left. And he's just, like, standing there, and he's, like, turns over, and you see, like, tank tracks running up his arm, because he can't actually see the stand. And then when he looks over, it, like, jumps into his mouth and, like, rips up his insides. And he's on the floor, like, and Koichi's, like, about to run over. And then, like, he like, pulls out his hand, and his hand grabs his jacket, and he's just tugging on it. But he's not, like, taking it. And Koichi is about to run over and, like, go right up to him and be like, I've caught you. Meanwhile, Jotaro is like, no. There's something wrong about the way he's acting. This is a calculated move. He's going to screw us up. And Koichi's like, he's like, doesn't really understand. But Jotaro's like, no. He's tugging at that, but he's not just taking it and running. This is a trap of some kind, and sure enough, it was. He wanted him to run forward so he could blow up the turret in the guy's mouth, and just first destroy all evidence of him being there or the guy having been killed, but also kill Jotaro and Koichi, which is where the episode ends, of course. And man, that was an awesome episode. I can't wait for the next one, because that stand power is awesome, and I want to see his ass get caught. Like, he keeps walking right past Okuyasu and Josuke, who he's now aware of now, which is just freaking lovely. And since he's aware of them, but they're not aware of him, and he can technically kill them at any time, he could. He just has too much of an advantage at the moment, because nobody else knows his stand power, or at least how it works. Because Shigechi's dead. He doesn't have any. Like, they don't have any leads on his stand power. Yeah, they don't know anything about him. Basically, they just know he's the killer. And so the chase begins, so to speak. But yeah, that episode was amazing, and I can't wait to watch the next week's episode. No spoilers, please. And thank you guys all for watching, and have a nice day.